tuning in. So our tips for a healthier work from home experience today, we're talking about creating a household plan and collaborating. So the first Power C is to create a household plan. So the CDC recommends that during this particular time, it's really, really important to make sure that we have a plan of action. So it's important to make sure that you talk with the people in your home. So that's, the adults, the extended family, everyone that's really living in your house, and those that you have the closest physical contact to make sure you have a plan in place. And that plan includes, what happens if someone is sick, what happens if someone needs to get to work, what happens if something happens to the car, just really thinking through all those particular steps to make sure that there's a clear plan of action. Again, part of our household plan is making sure that we're practicing our everyday preventive actions. So that includes wiping down our countertops, wiping down our surfaces, our laptop, all those spaces that we touch, doorknobs, keys, cell phone, that we clean those items on a daily basis. So if you remember, the CDC recommends that we should be washing our hands for at least 20 seconds every time that we wash them. So whether that's a song you have in your head or a childhood song or the ABCs, whatever it may be, making sure that everyone, the little ones and the big ones, are engaging in everyday preventive practices. The next part of creating a household plan is creating an emergency contact list. So if everyone had to write down the phone numbers of all of our family members from memory, I'm wondering if all of us could actually do that. So you want to make sure you do that as well. And I'm sure we all have those magnets on our refrigerator. So take those magnets, put that list up there, and actually write it out so that everybody in the household has the name and the phone number and also the address for all those people in your immediate family should you contact if there's an emergency. The next part of creating a household plan is continuing to develop ways to avoid risk. So we know maintaining our social distancing, making sure we're wiping down surfaces appropriately, and also making sure that we know our neighbors. Do we know what our neighbor's emergency plan is? Do our neighbors have our contact information in terms of our personal cell phone, and who is kind of coming in and going out of our home in terms of neighbors that we really trust and want to make sure that, again, that people are aware in the case of an emergency. The next step is knowing your employer's emergency operation plan. So whether it's UTC or one of our community partners or wherever you may work, making sure you know what their contingency plan, what their emergency plan is in terms of how day-to-day operations look. The next step in creating a household plan of action is, if unfortunately someone does become sick, it's making sure and staying informed that that person stays at home if they're sick. If possible, you want to separate the healthy person from the sick person. So if you're fortunate enough to have 2 bathrooms, designating one of those bathrooms, one of those rooms as the space for where the sick person will kind of reside during their isolation and quarantine time. So it's important to just designate that space so that people know, okay, this is, so-and-so sick, so we're going to give them some space and allow them to have some distance between, again, the healthy people and the sick people. Plan ways to care for that person who becomes sick. So if that's the person who's normally cooking the food, or the person that, has a valid driver's license, is responsible for taking, someone to work, you want to make sure you have a plan in place of how those other responsibilities are going to be addressed while that person is recovering. And the last step is really stay in contact with your family and friends. So whether it's a text message, a phone call, or email, making sure that people are current and up to date so that they know kind of your signs and symptoms and how you're progressing, and hopefully that you're feeling better and recovering very quickly. Part of creating a household plan is also addressing our emotional health. I know many of us are feeling, whether it's frustrated, anxiety, just these different emotions. We talked earlier this week about really being honest with ourselves about what those emotions are. We want to really check on our emotional health, and not when things get really bad and we're tired and we don't know what to do. We want to think about our emotional health on the front end and creating a plan of action to address our emotional health. So how are we staying active? How are we finding creative ways to connect? How are we managing our stress? Are we eating brain healthy foods? Are we drinking enough water? Are we getting enough sleep? So these are the things that we want to talk about on the front end and not waiting until things get really bad. So it's important to be honest with ourselves, but also stay balanced, hopeful, and intentional. So our last power C for today is to collaborate. It's important to find ways to connect, even though we're maintaining social distancing, particularly when we're outside. But what does family time look like? One of the things that I thought about last week was in December, and my mom served as our judge and jury, if you will. So I'm the oldest of four, and in December, before kind of the pandemic was really rampant the way it is here in the United States, we played the newlywed game. So if you all remember that game, so my brother that's just a year younger than myself, he served as the host. So my sister had been married more than 10 years. I was married at that time, maybe 8.5. And my youngest brother and his wife have been married for 6 months. And I say that to say that when we played this game, my mom was the judge and jury. So if there's any confusion on a response, she was the one that was responsible for determining if we said the correct answer. My other brother served as the host, so he developed all the questions. And my nephew, again, we were all in my sister's home, and my nephew, who was 8.5 at the time, served as the scorekeeper. So he had his dry erase board. He wrote all of our names at the top of the dry erase board, and he kept score. So everybody had a role. I cannot tell you how much fun we had and how hard we laughed while we played the newlywed game. The only difference is that my baby brother, who had only been married 6 months, won the game. My sister and I felt some kind of way about that, but they are still, I think there was $20 on the table in terms of the winner. And I was the one as the big sister who made sure he got his prize money. But we were a little upset about the couples who had been married the longest did not win. So we had so much fun. And it was just a really creative, free way to just connect and collaborate with each other. So whether it's charades, hopscotch, jacks, just games that require little to no planning or preparation, but just really create a really fun time. And so now that we do that, we talk about doing that every year during the holidays. So my sister and I are going to come back and win. So I'll have to keep you all posted the next time we play. So again, find creative ways to collaborate with those individuals living in your home to create new memories. The next part of collaborating is finding creative ways to connect face-to-face. I know some of you all have done this, but I've been part of some virtual happy hour times. We have Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock is our Zoom family time. So that little brother, again, he's the tech person. He creates our Google Hangout time. And so everybody gets to see each other in their comfortable, natural environment. And, you know, I'm eating dinner when it's 8 o'clock here. My brother on the West Coast is starting his happy hour a little bit earlier. But the thing is that we've created a set time. It's on our schedule. And we know that that's a time that we're going to be able to see each other. And my mom is there, so she's clicking in virtually. So we always have a really good time. Also think about developing family projects. So whether that's a game or something that you want to do in and around your home, and designating roles so that everybody has responsibility in that space, so that when that project is finished, everyone can celebrate as a family. So the last kind of part of our collaborating, creating a plan, is a plan of self-care. And I really thought it was important to really end our session on self-care. So think about those things that you're intentionally investing in yourself. And so it could be as simple as brushing and flossing our teeth. I know we're still at work, we're still into our routine. So if you remember from earlier in the week, we talked about doing the things that you would normally do if you were physically leaving your home or space and going to work. So getting dressed, not kind of just lounging around in our pajamas, but we've made it through another week. So Casual Friday is definitely in place. So you've definitely earned that. But do something nice for yourself, complete a task, a work task, listen to your favorite song, while you're listening to your favorite song, dance. So that's a good way to get some steps in as well. Water your plants, enjoy a really good cup of coffee, really being present with your cup of coffee and enjoying it, chatting with your friends, anything that makes you feel better and actually puts a smile on your face. So taking those deep breaths, going for a walk, getting dressed up. We did that. A friend of mine had a birthday party last week. And so for many of us, we hadn't really put on what I call real clothes. So we put on real clothes and had on jewelry and accessories. Everybody kept their slippers on because we wanted to dance, but it was a virtual birthday party and everybody had a really good time. The music was great, but again, it's a way to connect as much as you can considering the circumstances. So again, think about what your self-care plan is and how you can execute that plan on a consistent basis. So that is our last Power C for today. So again, creating a household plan and finding ways to connect and collaborate. So now we have time for questions and feedback.
Shewanee, there were a couple of questions and comments about medications and for folks who live alone. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind too. I know my grandmother who's elderly and lives alone, she keeps a list of all the medications that she is allergic to by her refrigerator, so that in the event that she's in distress and can't communicate, someone can find that. So those are some thoughts there, but I'll let you address those.
Excellent idea. So whoever said that, thank you for sharing that. And again, from our little people to our older adults, making sure that everybody's aware of what those allergies are, what they're allergic to, things that they need to be mindful of in the event of an emergency. So that's great. Other questions? Yes, please call your mom. This will be a great strategy, a way to connect is to connect on with those who love us the most. So that's a great idea. Yeah, everybody's providing really great feedback. And I love that everyone's keeping the family involved as part of the process. Great idea to put the emergency numbers in your wallet as well.
Yeah. Keeping those important contacts and medications in something like your wallet is a good idea because, heaven forbid you ever get put on an ambulance and taken to the emergency room and are unconscious. That needs to be someplace that the medical professionals can find it.
Absolutely, readily available. Great idea.
Teresa, the special guest is Shewanee's mother. She's tuned in from St. Louis via telephone.
She has. She says hello.
We tried very diligently to get her on the Zoom, but we just had a little technical issue. But she's tuned in with us and is participating along. And I saw some comments about calling folks and making sure that you stay connected. And one that's near and dear to my heart is connecting to your grandparents. I know mine. I keep calling them every couple of days and they get a grade report on how well they're doing at staying at home and things of that sort. And just ways to keep them entertained and engaged because especially for mine, they live a little bit far away from everyone. So it's not easy for us to get to see them on a regular occasion anyway. They can start to feel a little bit isolated and lonely during times like this. So I agree. Keep calling your grandparents.
Absolutely. Kim had a great idea that they're going to get out their Christmas card list and send notes or postcards to those individuals. That's a fabulous idea. That's a really, really great idea. I love that.
It's sort of a lost art anyway. So staying in touch with folks, that would give them something really special to receive, I think. All right. Any other questions or comments? Shewanee, does your mama want to say goodbye?
You want to say bye?
This is St. Louis signing out, and I enjoyed the class. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Aw, that's so sweet. Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody who's stuck with us all week. We really, really appreciate it. Next week, as I've sort of alluded to, we've got Donna Van Natten, she'll be doing an entertaining session on Tuesday and Thursday around body language on webinars. and body language in leadership. So it should be very interesting. Look for emails to come out about that later today, and we will go from there. Thank you all. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay healthy and stay in touch. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Yes.